Hi everyone! In this video, we will explain what ChatGPT is, how to launch and start using this tool, and how to use ChatGPT for software testing. Thank you for joining this video, and let's get started. This video is a part of the Udemy course Manual Software Testing Interview Q&A for QA. For more information, check the description or visit the website testing101.net below the video. Let's first become familiar with what ChatGPT is. ChatGPT, Generative Pre-trained Transformer, is a language model developed by OpenAI specifically designed for natural language understanding and generation in chat-like interactions. ChatGPT is trained on diverse datasets from the internet, enabling it to understand and generate human-like text in response to user prompts. It has been developed in several versions, with each version aiming to improve upon the capabilities of its predecessor. Users can interact with ChatGPT by providing text prompts or questions, and it generates contextually relevant and coherent responses. ChatGPT has a wide range of applications, including natural language understanding, text completion, and generating creative content. Its adaptability and versatility extend to aiding users in language translation, code generation, and even offering assistance in brainstorming and problem-solving across diverse domains. Let's consider the next question, and that is, how to launch and start using the ChatGPT. While OpenAI provides a web-based interface for users to interact with ChatGPT on the OpenAI website, the technology itself is designed to be versatile and can be utilized programmatically in diverse contexts beyond just web applications. To start using ChatGPT, you should follow the next steps. 1. Search for ChatGPT in search engine such as Google. 2. Click on the first link in the search results and go to the OpenAI platform at beta.openai.com. 3. After navigation to the chat.openai.com website, the welcome screen will be displayed with the option to log in or sign up. 4. If you don't have an account, sign up on the website or log in via any available option on the welcome screen, such as Google account, Microsoft account, and others. Once you logged in, the ChatGPT homepage will be displayed, and you can access the tool services without additional action as the service is available for free and all that we need is just the account. Let's take a look at how to use ChatGPT and a few main navigation options of the tool. At the bottom of the homepage, you will find the user input field, a text input field where users can type and send messages to the chatbot. The users start by providing a text prompt to the model. The prompt can be a sentence, a set of instructions, or a question, setting the context for the model's response. Let's take a look at the sentence prompt example. The user input the next sentence into the user input field. Explain the importance of regression testing in the software development lifecycle. The next option for the user is to input the set of instructions prompt. As an example, the user input the next set of instructions into the user input field. List and describe the key steps involved in performing a usability test for a web application. One more option for the user is to input the question prompt. As an example, the user input the next question prompt into the user input field. What are the common challenges faced in automated software testing, and how can teams overcome them? These prompts can guide the model to provide information, detailed steps, or insights related to software testing depending on the type of prompt used. Adjusting the wording and specificity of your prompts allows you to tailor the model's responses to your specific information needs. On the right side of the user input field is located the Send button, allowing users to submit their typed messages to the chatbot. After clicking it, ChatGPT generates a response based on the input prompt, using a pre-trained knowledge to understand the context and generate coherent and contextually relevant text. Once the response is generated, it appears on the chat window, the primary area where users see the conversation with the chatbot. Messages from the chatbot and the user are typically displayed in a threaded format. In a chatbot or messaging application, a threaded format refers to the organization of messages in a conversation thread, displayed in chronological order, forming a visual thread that represents the flow of the conversation. You can continue the conversation by using the model's previous responses as part of the input for the next prompt, allowing for more extended and coherent interactions, creating a simulated conversation with the model. For example, the user decides to ask the ChatGPT the next question prompt: "What is the process of software testing?" ChatGPT responds, "Software testing is a crucial phase in the software development lifecycle. It involves systematically evaluating a software application to identify defects or errors. The process typically includes test planning, test case development, execution, and reporting." Then the user asks an additional question in this conversation regarding one of the points of the tool response. "Can you explain the importance of test planning in software testing?" And ChatGPT responds providing additional information about the question the user asked, such as, "Certainly, test planning is a crucial phase in the software testing process, and its importance lies in its ability to provide structure, direction, and control to the overall testing effort." If the initial response is not exactly what you're looking for, you can iterate by providing more information or refining your prompt. Iterative interactions can help in getting the desired output from the model. ChatGPT maintains context within the conversation, allowing it to reference and respond to previous parts of the dialogue. The model has a limited context window, so long conversations might result in forgetting earlier parts of the discussion. However, at the left side of the ChatGPT navigation, the history of your conversation by day, week, and month is displayed, allowing you to navigate through previous conversations. You can easily access them by clicking on the conversation link. You can use ChatGPT for a variety of tasks, including information retrieval, language translation, summarization, creative writing, and more. Tailoring your prompts to be task-specific can yield more accurate and relevant responses. Let's focus on a question that is of particular interest to testers around the world: how to use ChatGPT for software testing. Using the power of ChatGPT extends a myriad of benefits for QA engineers, offering a versatile toolkit that enhances their capabilities in several crucial aspects, such as 1. Review software business requirements. ChatGPT streamlines the requirements analysis process by providing valuable insights, facilitating communication, and offering contextual information that contributes to a more comprehensive understanding of software requirements. During requirements analysis, ChatGPT can assist in understanding, clarifying, and generating information related to software requirements. Let's consider an example of QA engineer using ChatGPT while reviewing the business requirements for software. Imagine that the development team working on developing the e-commerce website and currently developing the registration and login functionality. The customer provides to the development team a requirement: user story. As a user, I want a feature that allows users to reset their passwords if they forget them. The system should send a password reset email with a secure link to create a new password. After reading this user story, the development team, especially the QA engineer, realizes that he or she has never tested the functionality before and doesn't know how to test it and which specific test cases need to be included to perform a high-quality testing of such feature. To perform thorough testing, the QA engineer decides to use ChatGPT to review and understand the requirement. For that reason, the tester navigates to ChatGPT and inputs a sentence prompt. Review the following requirements for testability. Next step, the QA engineer copies the requirement, that is user story, pastes it below the sentence prompt, and clicks on the Send Message button of the user input field. And the ChatGPT responds providing the 10 requirements for testability, a reset password feature such as clear user story description, list of functional requirements, list of non-functional requirements, list of edge cases and invalid inputs, etc. After reading the user story and using this information, the QA engineer can learn how to test such requirement, afterward asking additional questions to the customer to clarify specific details based on the project and customer's needs. It might help to create comprehensive test cases tailored to the unique requirements of the user story. For example, one project required to test reset link security, including expiration time and encryption, etc., while on second project basic testability may be sufficient. Clarifying these requirements ensures the quality of testing in such cases. The next case where the QA engineer might use ChatGPT for software testing is 2. Assistance with building the test plan. A tester might use ChatGPT during test planning for various purposes, such as 1. Writing the test plan. When QA starts writing the test plan, they might ask ChatGPT to provide the corresponding test plan templates to speed up the writing process. Let's consider the example of such process. Imagine that the QA team is involved with a project for testing e-commerce website which sells branded watches. The team consists of 6 QA engineers with a junior level of expertise. While the project is at the development stage, the customer comes to the QA team with a request to write a test plan, since the testing should start soon and the customers need to consider the team capacity and other important things. Since the QA team is all junior employees, none of them have previous experience in writing a test plan, and the company where they work does not have any templates, so the testers decide to use the ChatGPT. For that reason, the testers navigate to ChatGPT and input a sentence prompt. Give me the template of the different test plans for QA, and click on Send Message button of the user input field. And ChatGPT responds providing a list of the templates for different types of test plans commonly used in quality assurance, such as Master Test Plan, Functional Test Plan, Performance Test Plan, Security Test Plan. Based on this valuable information, the QA team writes the test plan and provides it to the customers, ensuring comprehensive coverage across different aspects of quality assurance during the testing process of the corresponding project. The next purpose where the tester might use ChatGPT while writing the test plan is clarifying test plan components. Based on our example, it may be that the test team still does not understand how to properly write certain components of the test plan, such as purpose, scope, objectives, assumptions, and others. In such case, the team decides to use ChatGPT to clarify test plan components. The tester navigates to OpenAI website and inputs a sentence prompt with a list of the items that need to be clarified. For example, can you help clarify what should be included in the next items of the test plan? Purpose, scope, objectives, assumptions. And ChatGPT responds providing a detailed explanation of each item of the test plan, making them clear and understandable for the QA team. By including these elements in the test plan, testers provide a clear roadmap for the testing activities, ensuring that all stakeholders understand them. The next purpose where the tester might use ChatGPT while writing the test plan is reviewing test plan structure. Based on our example, there might be a case where after receiving a request from a client to write a test plan, the QA team knows how to write it. So the QA writes this test plan without using the ChatGPT. However, after the QA engineers have finished writing the test plan, they ask ChatGPT to review the test plan structure to fix mistakes and not forget important components that they could have missed while writing. For that reason, tester navigates to ChatGPT and inputs a question prompt. I want to ensure our test plan is well structured. Any tips on organizing the sections? At the bottom of the request, the tester adds a written test plan. And ChatGPT responds providing with tips on how to organize the test plan in a structured manner, making it easier to stakeholders to understand and follow the testing process, contributing to a more effective and successful testing effort. Let's move on to the next case where the QA engineer might use ChatGPT, and that is 3. Assistance with test monitoring and control. One of the scenarios when ChatGPT could be beneficial during test monitoring and control is status reporting. QA engineer might use ChatGPT to provide in drafting clear and concise status reports for different stakeholders, describing the current testing status, progress, and any challenges faced. Let's consider the example of such process. Imagine that the QA team is involved to the project for testing e-commerce website which sells the furniture. The QA team is currently in the integration testing phase, and the major milestones include completing API integration tests and validating the end-to-end flow. While the project is at the integration testing phase, the customer comes to the QA team with a request to write a status report to understand the current progress of testing and to plan starting of the system testing phase. For that reason, the QA engineer navigates to ChatGPT and inputs a question prompt. Can you help me summarize our testing status, progress, and mention any challenges we're currently facing by writing the status report? ChatGPT responds asking additional details in order to write it as such as type of testing, the overall project goals, the testing methodologies used, and any specific challenges or issues team is currently encountering. QA engineer provides this information such as we are currently in the integration testing phase of our e-commerce platform. Our major milestones include completing API integration tests and validating the end-to-end flow. We have achieved 70% progress overall. One challenge we're facing is related to intermittent issues with third-party API responses causing delays in our testing timeline. ChatGPT responds providing status report that based on the provided information. The QA engineer might copy the report and send it after reviewing to the customer, showing the clear structured illustration of the current status of the testing. Another scenario when the ChatGPT could be beneficial during the test monitoring and control is metrics analysis. QA engineer might engage with ChatGPT to analyze test metrics and provide insights into trends or patterns. The tester can describe the metrics, and ChatGPT can assist in identifying potential areas of improvement. Let's consider the example of such process based on the example. The QA team is involved with the project for testing e-commerce website which sells the furniture. The team works with Scrum methodology. Especially testers perform the system testing one time per 2 weeks, and after each testing cycle, the QA lead collects test execution time, detect density, and pass rates. After reviewing the test execution times over the last 3 test cycles, the QA lead notices that the passing time of the system testing starts to increase and decides to identify potential areas of improvement of this process using ChatGPT. For that reason, the QA lead navigates to ChatGPT and inputs a question prompt. I'd like to analyze our test metrics. I will provide you and identify any trends or patterns. We have data on test execution times, detect density, and pass rates. Can you help me gain insights and suggest areas for improvement based on these metrics? ChatGPT responds asking additional details that QA lead have, such as data on test execution times, detect density, and pass rates, along with any additional context or specific questions the tester has about the metrics. Then the QA lead provides the next details. We've been tracking our test execution times over the last 3 test cycles. Here are the average times for each cycle. Cycle 1, 6 hours. Cycle 2, 6.7 hours. Cycle 3, almost 7 hours. Defect density is currently at 2 defects per 100 test cases, and our overall pass rate is 90%. And the ChatGPT responds with metrics analysis and shows the potential areas of improvement, making several points for each metric and overall recommendations at the end of the response. Using this information, a QA lead can contribute significantly to the overall quality of the software development process. Let's move on to the next case where the QA engineer might use ChatGPT, and that is 4. Assistance with test design of manual test cases. A QA engineer may turn to ChatGPT during the test design phase for various purposes, such as 1. Creating test cases, ChatGPT can provide structured and detailed test cases during the test design phase, ensuring comprehensive coverage of positive and negative scenarios of the testing component. Let's consider the example of such process. Imagine that the QA team is involved in the project for testing e-commerce website which sells the clothing. The project is at the development stage, and the next component that almost developed and will be ready for testing soon is logging flow. Thus, the QA engineer needs to prepare the corresponding test cases in order to test these components and ensure the quality of testing. The login form will consist of 3 fields: username, email, password. In order to speed up the process of writing test cases and not to miss important scenarios of inputting data into the login form, the tester decides to use ChatGPT. For this reason, the QA engineer navigates to Chat and inputs the sentence prompt: generate the test cases for validating the login functionality of a web application that consists of 3 fields: username, email, password. And the ChatGPT responds providing a list of corresponding test cases that cover the various scenarios which tester can use to ensure the robustness of the system, such as valid login scenarios, invalid login scenarios, empty field handling, etc. When testing forms, each input field has its own validation requirements that must also be tested. For example, the password field of this login form has the following validation: from 3 to 15 characters, at least 1 letter is uppercase, at least 1 number. To test the password field of the login form, the QA engineer decides to ask ChatGPT to assist with writing the test cases using the boundary value and equivalence partitioning test design techniques. For this reason, the tester navigates to ChatGPT and inputs the prompt: write test cases for the password field using the boundary value and equivalence partitioning test design technique. Also, QA engineer adds requirements below the sentence prompt, such as from 3 to 15 characters, at least 1 letter is uppercase, at least 1 number. And the ChatGPT responds providing a list of corresponding test cases based on the requirements. It's quite helpful when dealing with lots of equivalent classes and boundaries, saving the tester time to perform testing more effectively. Also, if QA engineer doesn't have a lot of time for testing and writing test cases is time-consuming, the tester might ask ChatGPT to write the checklist for testing the corresponding functionality. Let's consider the example of such process. Imagine that the QA team is involved in the project for testing e-commerce website which sells cosmetics. The team consists of 2 QA engineers. The project is currently on the development stage and system testing should start soon. Since the testing team consists of only 2 people and writing test cases is time-consuming, they decide to write a checklist for testing such website using ChatGPT. For this reason, the tester navigates to ChatGPT and inputs the sentence prompt: give me a checklist for testing the e-commerce website that sells cosmetics. And the ChatGPT responds providing a checklist for testing an e-commerce website that sells cosmetics, consisting of all scenarios that QA might need to cover for the basic functionality of such websites, such as functionality testing, user account management, payment integration, SEO, etc. Let's move on to the next case where the QA engineer might use ChatGPT, and that is 5. Assistance while writing automation test scripts. ChatGPT can assist tester with writing automation test scripts by helping with script writing, troubleshooting, showing best practices and other actions on the tools like Selenium, Appium, JUnit, TestNG. Let's consider the example of such process. Imagine that the QA team is involved in the project for testing e-commerce website which sells books. In particular, the development team built the sign-up functionality, and the QA engineer is currently working on writing an automation script to test the sign-up feature of a web application using Python with Selenium, as this programming language and tool combination is widely recognized for web automation testing. The QA engineer encounters challenges during writing such script and decides to seek assistance from ChatGPT to receive an example of automation script, Python with Selenium, for sign-up functionality of a web application. For this reason, the tester navigates to ChatGPT and inputs the prompt. Give me example automation script, Python with Selenium for sign functionality of a web application. And the ChatGPT responds providing the template of automation script with Python that the tester can copy and use for writing automation test cases based on the template. In case a QA engineer made a mistake in automation test scripts, they can try to find errors in the test script and solutions on how to fix it using the ChatGPT. Let's take a look at such process. Imagine that the tester wrote the automation script to test the sign-up functionality of a web application using Python with Selenium. However, after trying to launch it, the QA engineer encounters the execution error. The QA engineer decides to use the ChatGPT in order to find bugs or mistakes on this automation test script and review possible solutions of this issue. For this reason, the tester navigates to ChatGPT and inputs the sentence prompt. Find the bug or error on the test script, adding the test script itself at the bottom of the message. And the ChatGPT responds providing the issues in the provided Python script that might lead to such errors and will highlight the steps of how QA engineer might fix them to run the desired automation test case successfully. Let's move on to the next case where the QA engineer might use ChatGPT, and that is 6. Assistance in API testing. In API testing, a QA engineer can seek assistance from ChatGPT for various aspects of the testing process, including creating requests, validating responses, and handling different scenarios. Let's consider the example of assistance with creating requests. Imagine that the QA engineer is involved to the project for testing the patstore.swagger.io website, and in particular the tester needs to check API requests according to the documentation on the site. Thus, QA navigates to the website patstore.swagger.io, finds the API documentation, for example post request for creating a new user, and observes the JSON body of the request. This JSON body of the post API request can be used for running one particular test case. However, the tester decides to use ChatGPT to generate more valid and invalid bodies to cover positive and negative test cases as well. For this reason, the tester navigates to ChatGPT and inputs the sentence prompt, including specific parameters such as generate valid and invalid test JSON bodies for the username key value pair when the username is a string 150 characters long. Also, QA engineer add request body at the bottom of the request. And the ChatGPT responds providing valid and invalid JSON bodies for the provided data structure, specifically focusing on parameters that were requested with a valid username, an empty string of username, and a username with more than 50 characters long. The other common case when testers can use ChatGPT in API testing is during reviewing the mistakes of the request JSONs. Sometimes it's quite difficult to find mistakes in the JSON request body, leading to request errors after execution and wasting time. Let's consider the example of such process. For example, the tester have to test an API post request to add a new pet to the store using the same website, patstore.swagger.io. Thus, QA navigates to the website with a post request for creating a new pet to the store. Click on the Try It Out button next to the corresponding request, and then click on the Execute button. The next error appears. Please correct the following validation errors and try again. Parameter string value must be valid JSON. To correct this error, the tester navigates to ChatGPT and inputs the prompt. Please correct this body, passing the desired body next to the prompt. And the ChatGPT responds providing the answer with the corrected version of the desired request body and an explanation of what was added to fix the issue. Let's move on to the next case where the QA engineer might use ChatGPT, and that is 7. Assistance in creating test tables, lists. Quality assurance professionals create test tables and lists during various stages of the software testing process to plan, document, and execute test cases effectively. The ChatGPT can assist with that. Let's consider the example of such process. Imagine that the QA team is involved with a project for testing a website which sells tickets. The project is at the development stage, and the next component that almost developed and it will be ready for testing soon is purchase flow. Thus, the QA engineer needs to prepare the corresponding test cases in order to test these components and ensure the quality of testing. Since creating test cases for the purchase process is crucial for ensuring the functionality and reliability of your website, the tester decides to create a test table for testing these components using ChatGPT. For that reason, the tester navigates to ChatGPT and inputs a sentence prompt. I need to create test tables for testing the purchase process of our website. Can you assist me in structuring test cases and organizing them into a table? And the ChatGPT responds providing a test table template that assists the QA engineer in creating corresponding test cases in a structured way, allowing them to make testing clearer and not miss anything important. Additionally, the QA engineer might request to create a list with these test cases to categorize them into positive and negative scenarios and strength validation. For that reason, the tester navigates to ChatGPT and inputs the sentence prompt. I'd like to categorize them into positive and negative scenarios and strength validation, showing them in a list. And ChatGPT provides a test list structure. A well-organized and categorized test list structure is crucial for QA to streamline testing efforts, improve communication, prioritize testing activities, and efficiently track and report test results. Let's move on to the next case where the QA engineer might use ChatGPT, and that is 8. Assistance in writing SQL queries. A QA engineer might use ChatGPT for assistance in writing SQL queries in various scenarios related to database testing, data validation, and reporting. Let's consider the example of such process. Imagine that the QA engineer is involved with a project for testing a website which sells bicycles around the world. Currently, the database of the website consists 100 users, 10 from Italy, 10 from the USA, 10 from India, with ages from 20 to 66 years, single and married. The customer comes to the QA engineer with a request to show how many people are on the website database from the USA with the age from 30 to 40 and are single in order to make some analytics. The tester wants to write a query in order to receive this information from the database, but doesn't exactly know how to write it, and decides to use the ChatGPT for assistance. For that reason, the tester navigates to ChatGPT and inputs the first prompt. Show me the example of the database table with 100 users, 10 from Italy, 10 from USA, 10 from India, with ages from 20 to 66, single and married. The ChatGPT provides a sample representation of such table, and the QA can adjust the details based on their specific requirements. The next step for tester is to request the corresponding query to show the desired data on the database. Therefore, the QA navigates to the ChatGPT and inputs the next prompt. Type queries to see only users from the USA with an age from 30 to 40 single. And the ChatGPT responds providing the desired query in response. Select from your table name, where country equals USA and age between 30 and 40, and marital status equals single. In the next step, QA engineer can check if the corresponding SQL query works. For that reason, the tester navigates to the ChatGPT and inputs the next prompt. I will type queries and you will reply with what the terminal would show. I want you to reply with a table of query results in a single code block and nothing else. Also, tester input the query below the prompt. The ChatGPT shows the database that the terminal would show if the tester inputs this query into it. This simple manipulation might show the tester how to write queries to see the data on the database. Especially it is helpful for complex databases and difficult queries that need to be written to review the data in the database. Well, that's all from our side. If there are topics that you would like to see, write a comment or question to the lecture. We hope to see you in the next video.